President Trump saying this on Truth Social: "We are getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East." Meanwhile, Democrats have repeatedly used this line in describing the president's operation.
I've said repeatedly since the first briefing over 10 days ago, there was no imminent threat to the United States that I believe would constitute putting our sailors and soldiers in harm's way. And I will repeat again, no imminent threat to the United States.
So there was no imminence, but perhaps they forgot President Obama's assessment 10 years ago ahead of his failed Iranian nuclear deal. He said, quote, "Before this agreement, Iran's breakout time, or the time it would have taken for Iran to gather enough fissile material to build a weapon, was only 2 to 3 months. That was more than 10 years ago. And they must have also missed Jen Psaki's assessment during the Biden administration.
Iran has rapidly accelerated its nuclear program and reduced cooperation with international inspectors in non-performance of Iran nuclear deal commitments. Their breakout period is down from about a year, which is what we knew it was during the deal, to just a few weeks or less.
Former Marine John Byrnes is a member of Concerned Veterans for America. Clearly, there was imminence, John. And also, I want to talk about the way this war has changed this morning with you. Let's put up this map, because we know that Iran has struck Diego Garcia. They did not hit Diego Garcia, but it was in the vicinity. And what this means is Iran lied to us. They told us that they only had the capability to fire a missile 1,250 miles. It turns out it's actually 2,500 miles. And what this means is, number one, they misled us, which is no surprise. Number two, European capitals are at risk. American interests, there's more skin in the game than what previously maybe our allies realized. John.
Yeah, I was very encouraged by President Trump's Truth Social post yesterday evening, that he's looking for the off-ramp here, that he really wants to get out of that. I think the Iranians might have shot themselves in the foot with that. The U.S. intelligence community probably knew that we had a 4,000-kilometer range Iranian missile that we were concerned about. I think, in the last 3 weeks, that's probably something that the president should have brought to Congress if Congress wasn't so dysfunctional, perhaps, and that would have gotten to the American people. And that knowing that ahead of time probably would have helped the president in some of the sliding support we're seeing around this war. I think probably that 4,000-kilometer missile strike is something that's going to work in his favor. My biggest concern is boots on the ground.
Yeah, no, that is a concern. Absolutely. And we remember and we thank those 13 service members who have given their life in this operation, one of whom had 2 7-month-old twins and a 2-year-old, a hero. His name was Mr. Kleiner, and he's a hero. And moms as well. You see their pictures here, John. As we pay tribute to them, they paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we thank them. I do want to ask you, though, about the imminence conversation, because it is something we've repeatedly heard, and it's confusing to me. So are you supposed to wait until Iran gets a nuclear weapon, at which point you cannot attack them because it's mutually assured destruction? Is that the argument of the left?
I don't know what the left is saying. I think there was a case to be made between Midnight Hammer and Epic Fury of what was still left from the Trump administration. Don't want to get into a Colin Powell moment from 2002, 2003, but I think that President Trump would have done his party a bigger favor. Obviously, we're in an election year. There's issues with affordability. Oil prices and fertilizer prices. The stock market tanked yesterday. So again, I think the president would have done himself a bigger favor if he had made a better case for the need for imminence. I totally understand the need for operational surprise, and that fed into why that case wasn't made. But I think he wants to win. He wants to win in Iran. He wants to win in November. It's a good time to go to the American people and lay that whole case out. Hey, we just saw a 4,000-kilometer missile. Here's exactly what they had in fissile material and why we followed up last summer's attack with this spring's attack. I think he'd do himself a huge amount of favor to do that and get out there in front of the American people and really explain this in detail. I know it's not his style. He often has very smart people do some of that for him. But I think this would be a good time for him to go out and make that case right now.
John Byrnes, thank you.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.